When I was a kid, one of my favorite movies was The Beastmaster. Anyone who watched TV in the 80s and the 90s surely saw this movie. It was on all the time. Beastmaster, along with Conan, are the icons of the classic sword and sorcery film genre. It's awesome. There's a muscle-bound hero named Dar, the evil villain Mayax, who's played by Rip Torn, by the way, one of the best names in all of Hollywood. There's a gritty and mythical tone to the whole thing. It has an ancient or early medieval setting, and the dungeons and the monsters and all that's really cool. And of course, the best thing about it is there's an exhilarating adventure with scoundrels and danger around every turn. So when Beastmaster 2 came out in the early 90s, and I happened to catch it on TV one day, I was stoked. And it starts off great. There's a Badlands environment, a temple complete with fiery braziers and fanatical soldiers in black leather. Our hero Dar is a captive and he's condemned to death by Lord Arklon. Just when the executioner's axe is about to fall, Dar's tiger ally pounces and his ferrets chew through his bindings. He explodes into a pulp combat sequence and ends by riding off into the night. It's all set to an orchestrated film score. Great stuff. The second scene features the slaughter of rebels in a canyon at the hands of Lord Arklon and his soldiers. In the final segment of this scene, Arklon has a tense exchange with a witch. The dialogue has this kind of style to it. "I shall let you live, only until I witness such sorcery. Hear me well, betray me not." But one of the witch's lines sounds like this: "Chill out, dude." The tone clash is nails on a chalkboard, and this "chill out, dude" is unfortunately a signal of what's to come. The third scene takes place in a dark, misty swamp with Lord Arklon's men hunting for Dar. A swamp troll picks off the soldiers and then attacks Dar. It leads to some pretty forced plot exposition, but overall still has a great vibe to it. And now we come to the fourth scene, my brave companions. Brace up. The witch leads Lord Arklon to a mystical archway and opens a magic portal, beyond which they see modern-day Los Angeles, with skyscrapers and all. I'm not kidding. That is actually what happens.
What sorcery is this? A dimensional portal. A world that exists on a parallel plane to our own.
And what do they call this place?
The natives call it L.A.
So most of the movie takes place in L.A., and Dar teams up with a rich valley girl who drives a red Porsche and listens to hair metal. Arklon is trying to steal a neutron detonator, and he wants to bring it back through the portal to his world, and, well, you get the idea. The shock and utter disappointment that I experienced when I watched this was unbelievable. They screwed up the whole style. What's not a shock is that Beastmaster 2 was an absolute flop, and critics and audiences alike hated it. This was essentially the death blow to the film franchise. Hello everyone, I am Esper. I am a writer and RPG designer, and I've been running this YouTube channel since 2009. As a creator, I put a lot of thought into style. If you are wanting to create something of your own, a game, a line of miniatures, a book, a movie, whatever it might be, you would do well to give some real consideration to aesthetics. The term aesthetics, in a broad sense, means the look and the vibe of something. But more specifically, aesthetics refers to an appreciation for artistic beauty. And everyone, whether they know it or not, cares about artistic beauty. It's a really big deal. It captures us. It captures us. Even if you think you're not into art, you are. Even the most bro man out there wants things to have a certain style and tone to them. Cars and motorcycles, power tools and work clothes, his guns and knives, his gym and sports equipment, all these things are designed with a high level of artistry that balances form and function. And Broman also wants to hook up with the hot chick, not the cave troll. In other words, he is pursuing beauty, which he values highly, like everyone else. Even if you are into things that are not mainstream, you too still pursue beauty. If you like dark art, the artists are still rendering wonderful compositions. It's just dark beauty. If you like punk or death metal for that matter, the bands you listen to have skilled musicians composing sounds with harmony and cohesion to them. They're not garbled, incoherent, talentless messes. They're not meaningless discordance. They're not five people making random noises. Even the Joker in The Dark Knight has a specific style to his clothes and his makeup, his dialogue, and though he's supposedly this avatar of chaos, he has all these plots, and the plots all rely on planning and timing, and they rely on his henchmen keeping their word and showing up on time and doing their jobs. He's an extremely organized and controlled mastermind who, at certain specific moments, unleashes chaos. And from a meta level, Joker is a character that's contained within a film that required an immense amount of work and dedication and controlled focus in order to achieve a desired result. And that result, the film itself, places an immense amount of importance on aesthetics. The old saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover," is incorrect more often than not. And it's stupid to use a saying that only applies to the exception. Looks can be deceiving. Now that's a better saying to a degree. Looks can be deceiving. That is a possibility. Deceptions are a thing. Optical illusions are a thing. But can be is not the same as usually are. And aesthetics of any given thing usually are very important. So for quite a while now, I've been developing the style of my D&D setting. This has been going on for years. It's called Myriad Legends, and it takes place in the world of Ikoros. Though it's not really this one singular monolithic style, it's not inflexible. Rather, it's a number of related styles, styles that work together, or maybe you could call it a style spectrum or a style palette. This variety can make it a bit tricky to describe. Mythic fantasy, sword and sorcery, history-inspired high fantasy. It would be nice to have a single term that encapsulates all of that. Maybe I'll have to coin a new term. Wouldn't that be great? Something that conveys mythology and ancient history, plus fairy tales and medieval history, plus Conan, plus Lord of the Rings, plus A Song of Ice and Fire, plus the high fantasy of Dungeons and Dragons, but without the goofier parts in it. Also, add in some horror ingredients when needed. Sometimes it's easier just to say what the style of Myriad Legends is not. It's not anime, it's not silly, it's not Harry Potter, it's not muskets and gunpowder, it's not steampunk, it's not postmodern multiverse corporate fantasy, it's not pop, it's not cutesy, it's not modernistic, it's not safe and approved. It's a serious world, has a gritty edge to it, has real stakes and real consequences. There are elements of realism in there. They help to balance out the fantastical elements. Because if you have no contrast, then magic is not magical. It's just a video game. I can also tell you a large number of artists whose styles influenced Myriad Legends. And I want to say that I'm eternally grateful for these creatives. They have inspired me and contributed so much through their amazing pieces. Pieces that oftentimes show danger and strange things and dark things. Yet all that is contained within beautiful aesthetics. Alan Lee, Brian Froud, Frank Frazetta, Brahm, Carl Critchlow, Ian Miller, Larry Elmore, Mark Teaton, Rebecca Guai, Richard Kane Ferguson, R.K. Post, Rob Alexander, Ron Spencer, Seb McKinnon, Therese Nielsen, Thomas M. Baxa, Wayne Reynolds, Wayne England, Esteban Maroto, Ludwig Deutsch, and a plethora of other artists who have created amazing illustrations in the mythology, sword and sorcery, and high fantasy genres. I would also add in horror artists like H.R. Giger and Stephen Gammell and Michael Whelan, as well as surrealists, artists like Salvador Dali and Jacek Jerka. I could go on and on and on, and this isn't even touching on musicians or film directors or video games, which all of those also have had major influences on me. These styles that I draw upon fit this particular RPG setting, but they do not fit everything out there. Only you can determine what works and what doesn't work for your own creations. But again, this is something that you would do well to really think about, because if your creation has an incoherent style, or no style, then it's pretty much doomed. It will either just crumble away, or it will become something that you do not like. Think of it like this. If you want to have a garden, a great garden, but you just toss random seeds all over the place, you will either have no garden, or you'll have a bad garden where pests are just running amok. You don't want that. And I don't want that for you. Find the style that works well for whatever project you're creating. And if you take that style to heart, your creation will end up with a lot more life to it. You have 4 main pillars to your creation: style, craft, narrative, and business. Style is the visual identity. It's the tone, the artistic expression, and the aesthetics. We could call this the artist. Craft is the practical construction of the work. That includes the editing, the systems, the mechanics, the production of it all. We could call this the designer. Narrative is all the storytelling, and that involves plot, characters, dialogue, world building. We could refer to this aspect as the writer. Business is the marketing, the funding, the management, the logistics, and the distribution. And we could call this pillar the producer. Here's another way to look at this. Style is how it looks, sounds, and feels. Craft is how it functions. Narrative is what it says. And business is how it survives in the real world. Now, this video is really just focusing on style, and in particular how it relates to RPGs, though you could apply it to almost any kind of creation. And even though I'm just really talking about style here, you can see how crucial this is. In fact, I don't even know if 4 pillars is really the best analogy to use, because that implies that they have like identical roles, like each pillar is just doing the same thing, when really these 4 different aspects have different purposes. So let me see, what might be a better analogy? A kingdom or a nation. Style is the culture, craft is the infrastructure, narrative is the history and the current events, and business is the economy. Or a machine. Style is the exterior and the interface, craft is the engineering, narrative is the control system, and business is the fuel supply. Ooh, or a carriage. I might like this analogy the best. Style is the appearance, the paint job, the furnishings, the ornaments, the heraldry. It's what people see, the visual identity of this carriage. Now, the craft, that's the frame, the wheels, the axles, the suspension. It's all the engineering that makes the carriage function. Narrative has to do with the passengers and the journey and the destination. It's the reason why the carriage even exists. And business would be the horse, the driver, the road provisions, It's all the power and logistics that move the carriage and get it to go wherever it needs to go. There's probably an analogy of the human body that works here as well, and something about screwing up the style of your creation is like flaying the skin off the body. But anyway, only you can decide what the style of your creation is. What are your influences? Where are your ideas coming from in this instance? What kind of vibe are you going for? Who is the audience? These sound like basic questions because they are. Getting the basics figured out is so important. It impacts everything in the project. The basics aren't shallow. The basics are deep because they have so much resting on top of them. So much depends on them. They're the foundation. Now, I'd like to say, if you like the style that I've been describing for Myriad Legends, there are a couple things that I want to encourage you to check out. First is my online shop. It's on esperthebard.com. There you can find D&D books and adventures that I produce as an indie publisher. The second is my community campaign. This is where you can join in great adventures with lots of GMs and players all contributing together in Myriad Legends. It's a big living world campaign. That community is free. We're just always looking for great people that want to share in this vision. Links for everything are down below, so check that out, and I hope to see you around. All right, well, I think that'll wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, my brave companions, may your adventures be many.